On a frigid, pitch-black night in the bustling city of Chicago, Haley was rushing frantically to catch the last bus home. The freezing wind cut through her coat, and the weight of the long day made her legs feel like lead. Yet, as she hurried through the dimly lit streets, her pulse quickened for an entirely different reason. Out of the shadows, a small boy emerged, his eyes wide and filled with a haunting mix of fear and innocence that seemed to mirror the vast, starless sky above. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Haley's sense of urgency shifted from catching the bus to an overwhelming need to help this lost soul. She knelt, her heart aching with concern, and gently asked, "Sweetheart, are you all right? What's your name? Where is your home?" The boy, barely holding back tears, replied in a trembling voice, "I'm Ryan. I don't know how to get home." A wave of compassion and determination washed over Haley. "Don't be scared, Ryan. I'll help you find your way back," she said softly, offering her hand. "You'll be safe and warm with your family soon." Ryan took her hand, his tiny fingers clutching hers tightly, seeking comfort. As they walked together, Haley felt an unexpected surge of maternal instinct, a fierce protectiveness she thought she'd lost long ago. Each step they took was a silent promise she made to herself she would see this through, no matter what. When they finally arrived at Ryan's house, Haley's breath caught in her throat. The door creaked open, revealing a face she had hoped to never see again, filling her with a sudden and profound horror. As they continued their journey, Ryan occasionally pointed in a direction, his vague instructions guided more by intuition than memory. Haley, holding the boy's hand tightly, felt an inexplicable connection growing between them, a burning desire to shield him from all the dangers lurking in the shadows. "It's dangerous for a child to be alone here," she murmured to herself, each step rekindling the pain of an absence that had never been filled, the loss of her son. She knew the unbearable agony of not knowing where your child was, a torment she wouldn't wish on her worst enemy. Eventually, some night vendors, recognizing Ryan, began to point the way more accurately. "His house is over here. Turn at the next street," indicated an older man, his look of concern mirroring Haley's. She nodded in gratitude, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and anxiety. "We're almost there, Ryan," she reassured him, her voice gentle yet firm. The journey to find Ryan's house became symbolic, a reflection of her search for answers and a desperate longing to close a painful chapter in her life. "I know how devastating it is for a child to be separated from their parents," she confided to Ryan, her voice trembling with emotion. "But you are safe now." Ryan held her hand tightly, a small but significant gesture of trust, feeling protected as they approached a modest house. For the first time that night, Ryan's face lit up with a smile, a beacon of hope in the dark. As they reached the house, Haley's heart raced. The door creaked open, and she steeled herself for whatever came next, determined to see Ryan safely inside. "This is where I live," Ryan said, relief washing over his face. Haley knocked on the door, her heart pounding. When the door opened, she took a step back, her breath catching in her throat. The face staring back at her was one she would recognize anywhere, despite the years of separation and despair. It was her son, kidnapped years ago. At that moment, the past and present collided, leaving Haley teetering on the brink of an emotional abyss she knew she would have to cross. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then Ryan's small voice broke the silence. "Daddy," he said, his voice vibrating with emotion as he hugged Patrick. Patrick, equally moved, crouched down to receive his son's embrace, holding him with palpable love. "My God, Ryan, you gave me the biggest scare of my life," Patrick said, clutching his son tightly. "Where were you? What happened?" "I saw a dog on the street and started following it. Then I didn't know how to get back home," Ryan explained, lowering his head in embarrassment. Patrick sighed, his voice a mix of relief and stern concern. "Ryan, you know you can't run off like that. Something very bad could have happened." "I know, Daddy. I'm sorry. I just forgot. I got scared when I realized I was lost," Ryan admitted, his eyes filling with tears. "But then Haley found me. She was very nice, Daddy. She helped me find the way home." Patrick looked up, noticing Haley standing at the door, visibly shaken. "Hello, my name is Patrick. I don't know how to thank you enough for bringing Ryan back home. You have no idea how relieved I am to see him safe again." Haley, struggling to process the intensity of the moment, forced a smile. He is a very brave boy. He was lost, but he knew he wanted to find his way home. "I just helped," she said, her voice trembling as she tried to downplay her heroic act. Patrick's eyes softened, recognizing the depth of her emotions. "You did more than just help. You brought my son back to me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." Haley nodded, tears welling up in her eyes as she whispered, "I'm just glad I was there when he needed someone." The weight of the moment bore down on her, the pain of the past mingling with the bittersweet reality of the present. She took a deep breath, knowing that this encounter had changed everything and that she would never be the same again. "Even so, what you did is more than most people would do." "I am truly grateful," Patrick insisted, taking a hesitant step towards her. "Please come in. Let me offer you something as a small token of our gratitude." Haley shook her head, a gesture of refusal. "No, really, I was just in the right place at the right time. I'm happy that he's safe. That's all that matters," she replied. An uncomfortable silence hung in the air, filled with unspoken questions and unasked words. The looks exchanged between Haley and Patrick were laden with emotions neither could fully articulate. Patrick, sensing Haley's resolve, said, "Well, if you change your mind, please know that you are always welcome here. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart." Haley nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Take good care of him," she said softly, turning to leave. "He deserves the world." "I will," Patrick replied, still unaware that this night marked the beginning of an unexpected journey for both of them. As Haley walked away, each step away from the house felt like a monumental decision, heavy with the potential to alter her life forever. Patrick remained at the door, watching her retreat, an inexplicable sense of lost connection lingering in the air. Haley's mind was a whirlwind of emotions as she walked away, the cold night air biting at her cheeks. The image of Patrick and Ryan together tugged at her heartstrings, a poignant reminder of the family she had once lost. She knew she had to come to terms with the past, but for now, the relief of seeing Ryan safe and sound was enough. Patrick closed the door, holding Ryan close, the weight of gratitude and a mysterious sense of connection to Haley settling over him. He couldn't shake the feeling that their paths had crossed for a reason, and he silently vowed to cherish every moment with his son, knowing how easily it could all be lost. As Haley disappeared into the night, she felt a strange mix of sorrow and hope. The encounter had reopened old wounds, but also hinted at the possibility of healing. She resolved to face whatever came next with the same courage and compassion that had guided her tonight, knowing that sometimes being in the right place at the right time could change everything. Haley's thoughts drifted to memories long buried. She remembered the day her son was taken, the overwhelming despair that had engulfed her life, and the years of relentless searching that had followed. Each step now felt like a march through those memories, a painful but necessary journey. She wondered if she would ever find peace, but tonight had shown her that miracles could still happen, even if they came in unexpected forms. Patrick, inside the house, couldn't help but replay the events of the evening in his mind. Ryan's disappearance had been a parent's worst nightmare, but Haley's arrival had turned that nightmare into a moment of profound relief. He glanced at his son, who was now safe and sound, and felt a surge of gratitude towards the woman who had brought him back. He wished he could have done more to thank her, to show her how much her actions meant. Ryan, sensing his father's contemplative mood, looked up and said, "Daddy, who was that lady? She seemed nice." "She was an angel," Ryan Patrick replied, ruffling his son's hair. "A guardian angel who brought you back to me." Ryan nodded, understanding in his childlike way. "I like her. She made me feel safe." Patrick hugged his son tightly, whispering, "She made me feel safe too, buddy. She made me feel safe too." Meanwhile, Haley walked the dark streets back to her own home. She felt the night air clear her mind, the weight of her encounter with Patrick and Ryan slowly easing off her shoulders. She knew she had made the right choice, but the emotions of the night would linger for a long time. The face of her son, lost so many years ago, overlapped with the image of Ryan, and she couldn't help but wonder what had happened to him. Where was he now? Was he safe? Was he happy? As she reached her apartment, she looked up at the stars, their cold, distant light a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the mysteries it held. She whispered a silent prayer for her son, wherever he might be, and for Ryan, hoping his future would be filled with love and safety. The night's events had given her a renewed sense of purpose, a feeling that perhaps, in helping Ryan, she had taken a step closer to healing her wounds. Patrick and Ryan settled in for the night, the house finally filled with a sense of calm. Patrick watched his son fall asleep, his small body finally relaxed and at peace. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had to find a way to repay Haley for her kindness, to show her that her actions had not gone unnoticed or unappreciated. As he sat by his son's bed, he began to think of ways to reach out to her, to make sure she knew how much she had impacted their lives. Haley, on the other hand, lay in bed, her mind still racing. She thought about the moments with Ryan, the way he had clung to her, the trust in his eyes. She knew she had done something important tonight, something that went beyond just returning a lost child. She had found a piece of herself she thought was lost forever, a part of her that still believed in miracles and the goodness of people. As she drifted off to sleep, Haley felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. She knew the road ahead would still be filled with challenges, but tonight had given her hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, she could find her son, or at the very least, find some semblance of closure. And in the quiet moments before sleep took her, she allowed herself to dream of a future where she and her son were reunited, and the pain of the past was finally laid to rest. After Haley left, Ryan and Patrick shared a heartfelt hug before the boy headed for a bath, preparing for dinner. Patrick sat in the living room, unable to shake the image of Haley standing at the door, her refusal to enter etched in his mind. It seemed like I knew her, but how Patrick murmured to himself. He replayed every moment of their brief interaction, trying to unravel the enigma that was Haley. There is something there, something I can't understand. He continued, his thoughts spinning in circles as he tried to connect dots that seemed just out of reach. He stood up, pacing back and forth. She knew exactly what to do, how to talk to Ryan, how to understand exactly what it means to lose someone. He realized, the truth of his words resonating with a depth he hadn't anticipated. Patrick stood in front of the window, staring out into the dark street, the image of Haley walking away burning in his mind. "Who are you, Haley? Why do I feel like you took a piece of me with you?" Confusion mingled with overwhelming curiosity in Patrick's thoughts. Could it be? Did Ryan feel that too, he pondered, recalling how easily his son had trusted Haley, the way he had spoken about her with such ease and affection. Meanwhile, Haley sat on the bus on her way home, staring out the window without truly seeing the night scene passing by. Tears streamed down her face as the realization settled in. Patrick was Eric, her Eric, the son who had been torn from her arms years ago in a crowded park during a moment of carelessness that had turned into the greatest agony of her life. She had recognized him the instant their eyes met, a certainty as profound as the pain of her loss. The bus ride felt both interminable and fleeting. her mind awash with memories. She remembered the day Eric disappeared with excruciating clarity, the warmth of his small hand slipping from hers, the rising panic as she frantically searched the crowd, the utter devastation when he was nowhere to be found. Years of desperate searching, countless sleepless nights, and the gnawing guilt that had haunted her ever since. Now here he was, standing before her as Patrick, a man with a life and a son of his own. The boy she had once lost was now a father, and fate had brought them together in the most unexpected way. The emotions swirling within her were overwhelming joy, sorrow, relief, and a deep, aching love that had never faded. As the bus rumbled on, Haley clutched her bag tightly, her heart heavy with the weight of her discovery. She knew she couldn't just walk back into Eric's life without explanation. She needed to find a way to approach him, to tell him the truth, but how? The fear of rejection, of reopening old wounds, made her hesitate. Back in the living room, Patrick continued to pace, his mind racing. He couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that there was more to Haley than met the eye. Her kindness, her understanding, and the way she had connected with Ryan all pointed to something deeper. He resolved to find out more about her, to uncover the mystery that seemed to bind them together. The night wore on, with Haley and Patrick both lost in their thoughts, the threads of their pasts intertwining in ways they had yet to fully comprehend. Haley's resolve strengthened with each passing moment. She would find a way to reach out to Patrick, to tell him the truth about their shared history. As she stepped off the bus and walked the final few blocks to her apartment, Haley's mind raced with possibilities. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to see it through. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope, a chance to mend the broken pieces of her heart and finally bring her son back into her life. Patrick, too, felt a sense of determination growing within him. He couldn't shake the feeling that Haley was more than just a kind stranger. He needed answers, and he was willing to seek them out, no matter what it took. The night was a turning point for both Haley and Patrick, a moment when their paths, once diverged by tragedy, began to converge again. The road ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, but it also held the promise of healing, reconciliation, and a future where the pain of the past could finally be laid to rest. Should I have said something? Did he even recognize me? She whispered to herself, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and regret. How could he? He was only 4 years old when he was taken from me. Each bus stop seemed to stretch out, an unwelcome reminder that she was moving further away from him, from a chance to bridge the chasm that had separated them for so long. Should I have told him that I am his mother? But what if he didn't believe me? The decision to remain silent that night, to walk away without revealing her identity, felt like a heavy burden pressing down on her chest, dragging her deeper into an ocean of doubt and uncertainty. Patrick, he is my son. My heart knows it beyond logic and reason, she murmured, the truth of her maternal recognition defying all rationality. No mother forgets her child. As she gazed out the window, her thoughts drifted to Ryan, the little lost angel who had unwittingly become the bridge to the most bittersweet reunion of her life. He led me back to my son, even without knowing, she thought with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. The memories of that traumatic day, the day she had lost her son, played vividly in her mind. She was once again transported to the square, a sunlit afternoon where little Eric, just 4 years old, had been the center of her world. She had been joyfully selecting flavors from the ice cream vendor when a black car, sleek and ominous with its darkened windows, had parked nearby. Haley remembered the woman who emerged from the car, a figure of elegance and menace. With a swift, calculated motion, the woman grabbed Eric and hurried back to the vehicle. Haley's scream of terror and desperation filled the air as she dashed towards the car, her heart pounding with the desperate hope of rescue. But the car had accelerated away with frightening speed, vanishing into the city streets long before she could reach it. The sound of her anguish, a mother's heart-wrenching cry, reverberated through the square, drawing the startled attention of bystanders. Haley had collapsed to her knees, her ice cream forgotten, as tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. "Eric," she had screamed, her voice breaking with each passing moment, her heart shattering into a million pieces as she grappled with the void left by her missing child. Hours later, Haley and her husband, Louis, had arrived at the police station, their faces etched with the profound despair of a couple shattered by loss. They approached the counter, where an officer greeted them with a demeanor that oscillated between professional concern and a troubling bureaucratic indifference. "Please, you have to help us. Our son was taken from us in a square today." A woman grabbed him and fled in a black car. Haley had pleaded, her voice trembling with the raw edges of fear and hopelessness. The officer, while flipping through some papers on his desk, looked up with a detached glance. "Ma'am, we receive numerous reports of missing children. It's possible that the boy is still nearby and will be found soon. Have you searched the immediate area? Perhaps he wandered off following something or someone." The officer's words, intended to offer reassurance, only served to heighten Haley's sense of urgency and frustration. The procedural response, while logical, seemed woefully inadequate in the face of her heartache. The hours that followed had been a blur of fruitless searches, endless pleas for help, and the crushing weight of despair as they awaited any news of their child. Despite their best efforts, the days stretched into weeks, and the hope of finding Eric began to wane, replaced by a numbing sense of loss and helplessness. Back on the bus, Haley's mind was a whirlwind of memories and emotions. Each street lamp passing by outside was a stark reminder of the distance between her and the chance of a reunion. Her thoughts were a tangled mess of past and present, of what could have been and what might still be possible. "I need to find a way to reconnect with him," she thought resolutely, her heart aching with the weight of her unspoken truth. "But how do I bridge the gap of all these lost years?" As the bus rolled on, carrying her farther from the fleeting chance of revelation, Haley's resolve strengthened. She knew she had to find a way to reach out to Patrick, confront the ghosts of the past, and seek a future where healing and reconciliation might be possible. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges and emotional turmoil, but for the first time in years, she felt a spark of hope, a glimmer that perhaps, just perhaps, the broken pieces of her heart might finally find a way to mend. Haley, her face a mask of disbelief and desperation, pressed the officer with an intensity fueled by raw anguish. "No, you don't understand," she insisted, her voice breaking with emotion. "I saw her take him." The woman grabbed him and got into a black car. This was no mere case of a child wandering off. "My son was kidnapped, taken away from me." Louis, equally consumed by panic and helplessness, chimed in with urgent resolve. "Please, officer, we need to file a report now. This is an emergency. We need an immediate search to find our son." The officer, recognizing the depth of their distress, sighed heavily and reached for a report form, his expression softening with reluctant empathy. "All right, let's get this report filed. I need you to provide every detail you can remember. Your son's appearance, the car description, anything that could aid in the search." Haley, her hands trembling as she tried to compose herself, began to relay the details through her tears. "His name is Eric. He's 4 years old, with blonde hair and green eyes. He was wearing a red jacket and blue jeans. The car was a black sedan. The woman who took him was tall, with dark hair, and she was wearing sunglasses and a black dress." The officer, methodically jotting down each detail, nodded with a sense of purpose. "Thank you for the information. We will initiate the search immediately and alert all patrols to look for both your son and the vehicle matching this description. Do you have a photo of Eric that we can use in our search efforts?" Louis, his face etched with worry, swiftly retrieved a photo from his wallet and handed it to the officer. Please do everything in your power to find him. We can't bear the thought of losing him." Taking the photo, the officer gave them a reassuring nod. "We'll do everything we can. We'll keep you updated on any developments. In the meantime, try to stay strong. If you think of any additional details, or if you see anything that might help, let us know immediately." Haley and Louis, their hearts heavy with dread, expressed their gratitude as they turned to leave. Each moment without their son felt like a lifetime, a gnawing agony that twisted their insides. As they stepped out of the station, the cold, stark reality of their situation pressed down on them. Haley's mind was a whirlwind of self-reproach and fear. How could I have let this happen? How could I have taken my eyes off him, even for a moment? Her voice was thick with guilt and desperation. Louis wrapped his arms around her, trying to offer solace despite his crumbling resolve. "We'll find him, Haley," he said, his voice steady, but his eyes betraying his deep anguish. "We have to believe that we will. The police are on it, and we'll be right alongside them, searching every corner of the city if necessary. We'll leave no stone unturned." Together, they braced themselves against the cold wind that whipped through the night, their spirits faltering but their determination unwavering. Each step they took was driven by an unyielding hope, a desperate belief that somehow, against all odds, they would be reunited with their precious son. Their journey had just begun, and though the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty and fear, they clung to the fragile thread of hope that Eric would be found and brought safely back to them. That night, as Haley meandered through the streets of Chicago, her heart was a tempest of emotions. The night had brought her face to face with a seismic shift in her life's trajectory. She had found her son, but the weight of the moment bore down on her, leaving her unprepared to reclaim him. It was as though she was suspended in a state of emotional limbo, caught between the overwhelming joy of discovery and the crushing fear of the unknown. Each step she took seemed to echo in the cavern of her heart, marking the beginning of an uncertain new chapter. As the city's vibrant lights began to fade into the darkness, a fragile dawn of hope began to break within her soul, hinting at the possibility of a future where everything could be right again. In the days that followed, the quest to find Eric became an all-consuming mission for Haley and Louis. They plunged into their search with unyielding resolve, chasing down every lead, scrutinizing every clue, and pouring every ounce of their energy into the relentless pursuit of their son. Yet, as weeks morphed into months and months dissolved into years, the trail grew colder, becoming a ghostly echo of what once was. Each passing day seemed to cast a longer shadow over their hope, but the connection between Haley and Louis remained unbroken. Their shared love, fortified by the shared pain and perseverance, acted as a beacon, guiding them through the bleakest of times. Together, they weathered the storm, their hearts beating in unison with a tenacious belief that one day, somehow, they would be reunited with their cherished child. Meanwhile, Ryan's family was enveloped in a renewed sense of unity, their lives forever altered by the extraordinary events of that night. Every moment together was embraced with newfound appreciation, a poignant reminder of life's inherent fragility and the value of cherishing every second. The story of Ryan's return was woven into the fabric of their daily lives, a testament to the kindness of strangers and the vital importance of compassion and vigilance. It became a cherished tale of gratitude and connection, told and retold as a beacon of hope and a celebration of human decency. As for Haley, she remained a silent sentinel in the shadows of the city, observing from afar. Despite her unfulfilled longing, she drew a bittersweet solace from the knowledge that her son was safe and surrounded by love, even if she was not yet a part of his life. Her heart ached with the hope that one day the truth would emerge, and she would be reunited with her son not just in dreams and whispered hopes, but in the tangible embrace of reality. Until that day arrived, she found strength and solace in the bond she had forged with Ryan, the little boy who had unwittingly bridged the chasm between her and her long-lost child. In her quiet moments, she reflected on the profound connection that had been established, a testament to the enduring power of hope and the intricate dance of fate and love that had intertwined their lives. Instantly, the name Eric almost slipped from Haley's lips, an echo of longing reverberating in her heart. She quickly stifled the impulse and corrected herself with a soft, trembling voice. "Patrick, thank you for having me." At first, Haley felt like an outsider, a stranger navigating an unfamiliar terrain of emotions and circumstances. The unfamiliarity of the situation and the closeness to Patrick made her heart race with nervous anticipation. Yet, as the evening unfolded, the warmth and genuine kindness of everyone at the table began to dissolve her apprehension. The conversation flowed naturally, weaving through shared stories and laughter, and gradually, Haley's unease began to ebb away. The dinner became a symphony of connection and camaraderie. As they shared the meal, Daisy's voice rang out with a mixture of affection and amusement. "You have no idea of the adventures Ryan has embarked on. He's one of those kids who simply cannot sit still for a moment. Just the other day, he decided he wanted to be an explorer." She recounted, her laughter infectious. "He set up a grand expedition in the backyard and spent the entire day out there with binoculars that barely magnified and a paper hat that he proudly fashioned himself." Patrick's eyes sparkled with pride as he chimed in, and his creativity knows no bounds. There was this one night when he constructed a time machine out of cardboard boxes. He was determined to travel to the future and see if cars could fly. His imagination is truly boundless. The admiration in Patrick's voice was palpable, and Haley found herself smiling at the endearing anecdotes. It must be incredible to have a son like Ryan. His boundless energy and inventive spirit are truly remarkable, and it's clear how much love and dedication you both pour into nurturing these qualities. Haley's gaze lingered on Ryan, her eyes reflecting a deep, heartfelt affection. The boy, who had been occupied with a spoon, momentarily paused his play. His eyes sparkled with a mix of surprise and pride as he absorbed the praise. "Thank you, Haley," he said with a beaming smile that seemed to light up the room, casting a warm glow over the evening. As the night wore on, Haley felt a deepening connection to this family, each moment unraveling the tangled threads of her emotions. The stories, the laughter, and the genuine warmth enveloped her, creating a cocoon of comfort and belonging. She found herself increasingly drawn to the simple joys of their shared experiences, feeling an unexpected sense of peace amid her own tumultuous emotions. For a while, the evening became a haven of normalcy and human connection, allowing her to momentarily forget the weight of her unresolved heartache. For a fleeting moment, Haley envisioned herself becoming an integral part of this family, sharing not just the meal but perhaps a future filled with warmth and connection. The thought was both comforting and bittersweet, a brief escape from her own turbulent emotions. The dinner's cozy atmosphere was abruptly disrupted when Patrick, with a genuine tone of admiration, asked a question that seemed innocent yet deeply probing. "Haley, do you have children? You seem to have such a natural ability with kids," he remarked. The question hit Haley like a sudden gust of cold wind, pulling her out of her momentary comfort and thrusting her back into the painful memories of her past. Her hands trembled slightly in her lap as she struggled to find her voice. She started, her words faltering and then disappearing into silence. Daisy, perceptive and empathetic, noticed Haley's distress immediately. She sensed the delicate nature of the topic and swiftly intervened with a gentle shift in focus. "Oh, look at how the weather seems to be changing outside," she said, her voice carrying a touch of lightness that subtly redirected the conversation. Her intervention was both graceful and compassionate, acknowledging that there were emotional territories Haley was not yet ready to confront. As the conversation smoothly transitioned to lighter subjects, such as upcoming weekend plans and humorous anecdotes about neighborhood events, the dinner table's atmosphere regained its warmth. Despite the topic shift, Haley couldn't completely escape the impact of Patrick's question. It had ignited a chain of reflections about her own life, her choices, her losses, and the unresolved ache of her past. The evening had been a balm for her loneliness, yet it also highlighted the chasm between her present and the life she had once envisioned. When the night eventually drew to a close, and Haley prepared to leave the house that had offered her solace and a fleeting glimpse of what might have been, she was filled with a complex blend of gratitude and sadness. Standing at the door, she turned to Patrick and Daisy, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. "Thank you for this wonderful evening," she said, her words infused with genuine appreciation. "It was truly special for me." Patrick and Daisy exchanged a knowing glance, understanding that their guest's farewell was marked by an underlying depth of feeling. "It was a pleasure having you," Haley. Patrick replied warmly. "Please, don't be a stranger." As Haley stepped out into the cool night air, the weight of her emotions felt both heavy and liberating. Each step away from the house seemed to echo with the unresolved parts of her journey, but also with a sense of hope. The night sky above her was a canvas of possibilities, and despite the lingering pain, she felt a renewed strength in the connections she had made and the warmth she had experienced. Patrick, with a warm and genuine smile, walked Haley to the door. "We are the ones who thank you. It was a pleasure to have you with us tonight. I hope we can do this again soon," he said, his sincerity shining through every word. Daisy joined them, her hand gently resting on Haley's shoulder in a gesture of camaraderie and support. "You will always be welcome here, Haley. Ryan loved having you with us, and so did we." The kindness in Daisy's eyes was a testament to her generous heart. Ryan, not wanting to miss out on the farewell, dashed over to Haley and wrapped his small arms around her in a tight hug. "Goodbye, Haley. Don't forget to come back, okay?" His voice was filled with the innocent hope of a future visit. Haley knelt to return the hug, her heart swelling with affection. "I won't forget, Ryan. Thank you for showing me your drawing and for tonight. You all made me feel very special," she said, her voice thick with emotion. As Haley arrived home, the familiar confines of her small apartment seemed to welcome her with a renewed sense of warmth. The once echoing emptiness of the space now felt like a canvas ready to be filled with new possibilities. "This night changed something in me," she reflected, as she slipped off her shoes and walked silently to the living room. The soft glow of the streetlights filtering through the window bathed the room in a gentle light. "I was there with them, with my family," she murmured, her voice almost a whisper. "For so many years I felt like I was adrift, alone in the world. But tonight, even if just for a few hours, I felt I belonged somewhere again." Her thoughts drifted to the moments she had shared with Patrick, Daisy, and Ryan. "My son, how you've grown," she said softly, her mind's eye conjuring the image of the boy she had seen and the connection she had felt. Daisy, so kind and welcoming, and Ryan. Ryan is a ray of light, so full of life and love. A warm smile spread across Haley's face as she considered the significance of the evening. "I have a grandson," she whispered to herself, the word grandson tasting sweet and new on her lips. The realization brought with it a sense of peace and a glimmer of hope for the future. As she settled into her armchair, the solitude of her apartment no longer felt like an oppressive void, but rather a space filled with the echoes of a night that had rekindled her sense of belonging. The night's experiences had not only brought back memories, but also sparked hope for what might still be possible. Haley closed her eyes, allowing herself a moment of quiet contentment, knowing that she was one step closer to finding her place in the world again. Haley's revelation hung in the air between them, a heavy, unspoken truth that seemed to fill the room with an emotional weight. Daisy, her eyes reflecting a mix of surprise and compassion, listened intently. The air felt charged with empathy as Haley continued. "He was taken from me in a moment of carelessness in a crowded park," Haley said softly. "I saw him being snatched away by a woman who got into a black car. I tried to chase after them, but it was too late. The car sped away, and my world came crashing down. Daisy's hand reached across the table, touching Haley's gently. "I'm so sorry, Haley. I can't imagine the pain you've endured." Haley's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she nodded. "It's been years, and I've searched for him every day. There were moments when hope seemed lost, but then, finding Ryan and being welcomed into your family gave me a sense of belonging I hadn't felt in so long." Daisy's voice was thick with emotion. "You know, hearing you speak about it, I feel a profound connection to you. Losing a child, in any form, is a wound that never fully heals. But there is a light in sharing these experiences, in finding understanding with someone who truly knows the depth of that pain." As they continued their conversation, the bond between them deepened. They spoke of their losses, their hopes, and the strength they had found in their respective journeys. For Haley, it was a cathartic release, and for Daisy, it was an opportunity to connect on a level she had rarely experienced. The shared understanding between them forged a new layer of their relationship, transforming their morning rides and lunches into a source of mutual support and healing. The warmth and acceptance they offered each other became a balm for their respective wounds. Days turned into weeks, and their friendship grew stronger. The rides to work, once a simple convenience, became a cherished time of connection. Their lunches, once casual, turned into moments of deep conversation and understanding. Through their shared experiences, they found solace and strength in each other's company. Haley felt an unexpected joy in these newfound friendships and connections. It was as if the universe, in its mysterious ways, had brought her to a place of comfort and understanding when she needed it most. As she walked to the bakery each morning, she did so with a renewed sense of hope and a heart lighter than it had been in years. The pain of the past, while never completely gone, was now tempered by the warmth of new beginnings and the promise of future possibilities. As Daisy walked away from Haley's apartment, the weight of the evening's revelations hung heavily in the air. The shock of discovering Haley's true identity had shaken Daisy, yet the raw vulnerability and desperation in Haley's confession had sparked a deep well of empathy within her. Daisy knew that Haley was a mother who had suffered unimaginable loss and had been driven by a profound need to reconnect with her son. Back at her own home, Daisy wrestled with a storm of emotions. Her thoughts churned as she considered the implications of what Haley had revealed. She knew that this revelation was far from straightforward and would require careful consideration and understanding. The following days were marked by a quiet tension. Daisy maintained her promise to Haley, choosing not to disclose the truth to Patrick. Instead, she carefully observed Haley's progress, offering support while grappling with the complexities of their new reality. Daisy's actions reflected a delicate balance between her emotional turmoil and the compassion she felt for Haley's plight. Haley, for her part, found herself in a fragile state of hope and trepidation. She adhered to her doctor's advice, taking steps to manage her hypertension while continuing to nurture her newfound connection with Daisy. The routine of morning rides and shared meals became a comforting anchor in her life, offering solace amid the chaos of her internal struggles.
The bond between Daisy and Haley deepened as they navigated this challenging period together. Their conversations grew more profound, encompassing not only the shared pain of loss, but also the emerging hope for the future. Daisy's willingness to listen and understand provided Haley with a sense of validation and support she had longed for.
One day, Daisy decided to broach the subject with Patrick in a gentle manner. Over dinner, she casually mentioned the challenges of understanding people's pasts and how important it was to offer support without immediate judgment. Patrick listened intently, sensing the underlying significance of her words but unsure of their full meaning. As the days went by, Daisy and Haley worked on understanding each other's experiences and finding a way to move forward. Daisy's understanding heart and Haley's earnest apologies began to bridge the gap between their two worlds. Daisy began to appreciate the depth of Haley's pain and her sincere desire to reconnect with her son, even if it meant remaining in the background for now. Slowly but surely, Daisy started to see how Haley's presence, though initially shrouded in secrecy, had brought a positive impact on their lives. Haley's kindness and gratitude began to win Daisy's trust, and she felt a growing respect for Haley's perseverance and courage. One evening, Daisy invited Haley over for tea. As they sat together, Daisy spoke with heartfelt sincerity. "Haley, I've come to understand your pain and your journey. While it's been difficult to process, I want you to know that I see you for who you are, a mother who loves her child deeply. I think it's time we discuss how we move forward, not just for your sake, but for Patrick and Ryan's too." Haley nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Daisy. I know that earning trust takes time, and I'm willing to be patient. I hope to eventually rebuild a relationship with my son, but I understand the importance of doing so in a way that respects the life he's built with you." As they continued their conversation, a renewed sense of hope emerged. Haley and Daisy both understood that the path ahead would be intricate, but the foundation of empathy and mutual respect they had established would be crucial in navigating their way forward. With Daisy's support and Haley's unwavering commitment, they began to envision a future where healing and reconciliation could become a reality. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey through Haley's story. We've witnessed the powerful themes of loss, hope, and reconciliation, and how they intertwine to shape our lives. Haley's struggle to reconnect with her son and the support she received from Daisy reminds us of the strength found in empathy, the importance of honest communication, and the transformative power of understanding. As we conclude, I'd love to hear from you. What has this story taught you? Share one thing you've learned and how you plan to apply it in your own life in the comments below. Your insights are valuable, and your experiences might resonate with others in our community. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us bring more meaningful content to you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.